Thank you. Next item is the Plan and Economic Development Overview. Our Director, John Paul Rhea, is here. Welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Commissioner Brown. Yes, top of the evening, Commissioners, as we transition into the later portions of the day. Want to first off thank you all for the opportunity to present this afternoon. My name is John Paul Rhea. I am the Director of the Macomb County Department of Planning and Economic Development. With me here today, too, are a number of our key director and managerial personnel. I have our Deputy Director, Vicki Rad, over here. Mr. James Ahi, who is our Program Manager of Economic Development. Jerry Santoro, who is our Program Manager of Land and Water Resources, and Maria Zardes, who is our Program Manager of Communications and Outreach. And the person who frankly runs the entire department, Jennifer Belch, our Chief Administrator, is here too. More than anything, we wanted to take a few minutes of your time this evening. I have provided a PowerPoint presentation, which is in your packet. I'm going to try to set a new land speed record to get through this as expeditiously as possible, understanding that we're getting close here on time. But more than anything, just to provide you with a comprehensive overview of some of the proficiencies of our department, a number of emerging initiatives, and actually provide you all with some hard data and analytics as to what is the science of what we're building in planning and economic development, and how are you getting the best return on investment with the staff and resources that we're deploying in the field. The main thing that I want to highlight specifically about the department is what we facilitate as far as enhancing not only the overall quality of life, but improving opportunities for economic investment is really focused on 4 key program areas: economic development, planning and mapping services, land and water resources, and communications and outreach. Quickly, with our economic development team, which is facilitated and managed by both Vicki and Jim, what we're looking at is 3 main areas of focus with business interaction. It's about retention, expansion, and attraction. Ultimately, we meet with companies all around Macomb County, with 18,000 companies located here in Macomb County with a workforce of 433,000 individuals. We are continually focused on not only engaging those in manufacturing and production, also emerging industries and sectors, whether it be advanced mobility, robotics, automation, and IT and cybersecurity. Beyond that, too, we are looking at a number of different elements in workforce. With President Sawyer being here today, I think the most fascinating thing about what they highlighted in their presentation earlier and what we're really looking at from a workforce perspective is we may have one of the most committed and coordinated group of economic developers and educational institutions that are looking at workforce trends on a daily basis, whether it's meeting the needs of incumbent workers, whether it's filling the talent pipeline. I think we're really doing some fascinating things, which we're going to get into a little bit later in the presentation. Last year alone, our department facilitated 413 direct contacts with Macomb County businesses. It's everything from traditional retention visits, which includes our economic development specialist going into plants, facilities, into CEO rooms, and really looking at what are the future opportunities for investment in our county. On the attraction side, we have over 80 leads that came out of region, county, state, and around the globe looking at investments here in our county. Last year alone, our department was able to facilitate more than $261 million of direct investment into our county, and this does not include the direct involvement that we had in the billion-dollar investments from the many OEM facilities. We are working on comprehensive incentive deals with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation that not only encompasses Sterling Heights Assembly Plant, Warren Truck, and the General Motors Tech Center, also including opportunities up at the Romeo Ford Engine Plant. Because we work in course with the state of Michigan, these deals are primarily facilitated by them and then trickle down to us for additional incentives and outreach and engagement with our local partners. The other thing that we're incredibly proud of is last year alone, we had the good fortune of creating almost 1,500 jobs in our community and had the ability to maintain 2,400 jobs in a number of vast industry segments. When we look at the entire county, we are really looking at a full-scale investment throughout the entire community. Whether we're working up in the village of Armada, whether we're looking at strategic investment on the Mountain and Van Dyke corridor, we really feel that we have our finger on the pulse and have a tremendous amount of capacity with our municipal partners, which is making a very prosperous economic condition here in the county. The other thing that we are continually refining and looking at being more versed and strategic with is the incentive programs that are offered and enabled through state legislation, whether it's leveraging the Michigan Business Development Program, looking at community support that comes from our locals, also bringing our utilities and transportation service providers. We're putting together some pretty comprehensive and competitive incentive packages, which are just not simply in giving free money from the government, but it's truly building a competitive investment strategy that brings a corporate client to the table with a viable business strategy that is going to invest in our community for many, many, many years to come. The other thing that we're really getting refined at is the whole notion of how we look at economic investment and data. We tend to refer to this as the whole notion of Moneyball of economic development. We don't want to be a bunch of cheap real estate agents and say it's always sunny and 75 in Macomb County and it's a great place to do business. So one of the things that we've started to do is a deep analytical dive into not only industry trends but workforce trends. And we are leveraging some pretty heavy technological skills in our GIS and geospatial analytics and have developed a series of targeted industries. We have developed 10 super sectors of industry here in Macomb County. We are tracking not only investment, but also workforce growth and opportunity, and are working with individuals on both the public and the private sector side to understand what are the emerging needs of industries. What we have done is we actually put together tailor-made profiles which not only look at jobs, percentage of growth of these industries since 2010, and also have developed projection models looking at opportunities for not only investment, but also the amount of assets that are here. The other thing, as we discussed too, is the whole notion of workforce is vital. Talent is the number one thing that is discussed in the hundreds of retention visits that we follow every single day, and we are taking that to heart, and we are really stepping up our game to understand the talent needs of businesses that are coming into our community and are currently operating in our community. Whether we're looking at the 650 defense contractors that transacted more than $1.42 billion of investment in our community, $36 billion since 2000, we really are developing a competitive economic advantage that is also being driven by a number of emerging industries and segments, as President Sawyer highlighted, with IT and cybersecurity being a massive one. We have facilitated the Michigan Automotive and Defense Cyber Assurance Team, also referred to as MADCAT, which has brought IT and cybersecurity experts from around the county and state here to Macomb County to discuss the emerging needs of the convergence of digital infrastructure into production-based industries and how we get the necessary capacities here to do that. Transitioning over to our planning and mapping services, this is the department that I grew up in, and this is what I like to refer to as what our communities want to be when they grow up. One of the things that we realized historically here, that there was traditionally always the county did their thing, communities did their thing. We have an incredibly proficient and skilled group of planners and economic developers that can work in coordination and cooperation with our local units of government to develop viable development strategies that look at every single segment of the community, whether it's residential housing, whether it's parks and recreation, whether it's sustainability and environmental stewardship. We need to illustrate to our local municipal partners that we can help in these conversations. And what it very much boils down to is successful partnership. We are working on a daily basis with local units of government to create more viable and realistic master plans. We're developing sub-district plans which are looking everything from downtown development to strategic industrial development. And the other thing that we're doing is we're doing this at a tremendous cost savings, not only to our local municipal partners, but is also generating some creative revenue for the department and the county. And it's something we're not only looking to deploy and scale up, but more importantly ensure that it's responsive to the needs of our municipal partners. The other thing that we're incredibly proud of is our demographic and data. We never want to come to someone and just say, this is a good idea. Everything that we're looking at deploying from a planning and economic development perspective needs to be founded in true, honed, analyzed data to really understand what are the existing needs of our community and how can we develop proposals, strategies, and projects that will actually benefit and advance our community. We do this not only by continually pulling and tracking information, whether it be just demographics and community characteristics, but the other thing is that we're very much ramping up the way that we look at the county and highlight a number of quality of life assets that we have. One of the great initiatives that we're on the cusp of launching is our Mobilize Macomb initiative, which looks at the fact that currently in Macomb County, we have over 150 miles of non-motorized trails, and we need to do a hell of a lot better job of linking that trail network. It's working with folks like Brian that was up here earlier and really understanding when we're building a transportation network, it needs to be multimodal, it needs to be safe, and it needs to be accessible to all individuals throughout our county. And when we look at that, it's about building safe facilities, it's about outreach programs, it's about linkages, and it's about sound financial practices to invest in this infrastructure that is going to make our county a showplace. The other thing that we're looking at is the model industrial ordinances. Currently in Macomb County, there are over 98 permitted industrial districts in our county, and I'll just be frank with the board, we think it's absolutely foolish. We started a conversation with our local units of government and brought in chief planning personnel and said, why are there 98 different industrial zoning districts in Macomb County? Why are there over 157 permitted uses in all these districts? And when is the last time any of you actually turned down an industrial site plan? And after a series of crickets hummed about the room, we started a productive conversation. It's time we modernize these systems. We appreciate that your communities have invested in developing zoning ordinances, and in no way, shape, or form do we want to take away your home rule charter and your ability to unilaterally implement planning and land use decisions. But what happens if we provide you with a more modern tool that made you more of a draw for major economic development projects? And what if I took those tools and backed them with the full proficiency of a staff of 7 economic developers that could lead you economic development projects and ensure project timelines that are realistic and preferable to our private sector partners? It's a pretty inventive strategy. It's a little bit of a reach, but we think it's going to be something that'll be profoundly important to our economic development strategy moving forward. At this time, we've charted out a series of program objectives and are looking to roll this out over the summer months and get a lot of insight from our local partners on this one and really modernize the way we site industrial properties. Because here's the alarming thing about this. Currently, we're at 1% industrial vacancy, and we're running out of places that are supported by sound infrastructure. So we have to be incredibly strategic of where we put this, because a little known fact that we don't discuss a lot, we may be the 3rd largest county in population. However, we're the 9th smallest in geography. And we need to get a heck of a lot better with the way that we view development in this county, and it needs to be sound and strategic, and this is one of those ways that we can do it moving forward. Another thing that we're really, really excited about is our GIS capabilities. For over a decade, this board has provided our department with the necessary resources to invest in a geographic information system. And I stand here and proudly say that currently the Macomb County Department of Planning and Economic Development in Macomb County may have the best GIS system in the entire state of Michigan. We are being utilized by not only local partners but statewide agencies to showcase not only the way that economic development is plotted out and showcased, but we are also doing some incredibly creative things, putting vital community information in people's fingertips and really understanding the way that our community is growing, expanding, and what opportunities are there. We're using this data and information on web-based dynamic mapping to not only showcase dashboards that are responsive to emerging community trends, but it is helping us make better and more informed decisions about where our county is going next and how we can develop programs to respond to that. Please, please, please visit gis.macombgov.org. Look at the capabilities that we have there. We are showcasing this data and information that is not only providing people with the just detailed information as how big is the property that I own or what my taxes are, but more importantly is getting more information out there about quality of life assets. Whether it's working with the Macomb Orchard Trail Commissioning and developing a story map about the Macomb Orchard Trail, or it's highlighting foreclosed properties that are out there, this is information that we're getting out to the public in probably one of the most beneficial ways in my tenure here at the county. Land and Water Resources Division is a fantastic way for us to really showcase our parks and natural resources. We have this countywide vision where we're looking at our natural features and assets and really understanding how do we increase accessibility, how do we increase our environmental stewardship, how do we cultivate sound development opportunities, how do we farm out additional funding, and how do we market, educate, and develop advocacy programs around all these great natural resources. This program area has also given us the ability to be more competitive than ever to access state dollars, whether it be from the ability for us to work with the City of New Baltimore to access a Department of Natural Resources Trust Fund grant for the Schmid Marina property, whether it's looking at a local Weber Patter Park that brought in a private endowment and donation from the Weber Foundation and also layered in some DNR trust funds, or it's looking at transformative waterfront redevelopment in Harrison Township. We are developing a strategy that is not only looking at optimizing the 31 miles of coastline that we have along Lake St. Clair, but it's really upping the ante and understanding how we implement more green programming. And one of the most emerging programs that we currently have in our department is Green Macomb. And ultimately what we're looking at Green Macomb is really upping the green infrastructure strategy and looking to leverage environmental best practices in Macomb County that can strengthen our economic vitality, quality of life, and also the environmental well-being of the entire region. And this isn't one of those things where you just put a moniker on it and say, we're going to be Green Macomb, again, backed by sound data and analytics. We worked with our statewide and regional partners to develop tailor-made planting and green infrastructure strategies for each one of our communities south of the Clinton River to start, because we had a massive issue with tree canopy and it was incredibly problematic. We were able to use this strategy to also be able to access $188,000 from the U.S. Forest Service, which we're going to discuss in a later agenda item. But the incredible amount of goodwill and partnership that this has given with us, the fact that we were able to facilitate our first countywide Arbor Day tree planting and a tree sale a few weeks ago now, is giving us, again, some very beneficial inroads to understand how do we ensure the environmental well-being of this county, and how do we optimize the limited natural resources that we have and really make them showcase moving forward. Again, with the help of the Board of Commissioners, we were able to use the Green Macomb website, where not only all that information is available and at the disposal of our municipal partners, but also is bringing in a number of environmental partners to help us with that. The last work group that I want to cover is our communications and outreach team. Maria and her team has been doing a fantastic job through a number of digital properties and flagships in highlighting the great work that we're doing, not only the economic development side, but also the quality of life side, to create greater awareness for the unique assets that we have in this county. There are two publications, which we brought some extra ones here today, that I want to highlight. The first of which is Momentum. We used to do this county magazine, and every time we did this county magazine, we just had this publication that we would print once a year and would sit in local places here, and we'd just be like, hey, there's the county magazine we did 9 months ago. And then 3 months into it, we'd be like, oh, we got to start doing the county magazine again. So through partnership now with Digital First Media, which is the parent company for the Macomb Daily, we are now making a semi-annual publication known as Momentum, with the full help of not only their editorial team, their graphics team, their distribution team. This magazine is not only developed at virtually no cost to the county, but is then supplemented into 53,000 Sunday editions of the Macomb Daily and Oakland Press. This publication not only illustrates major economic development projects and quality of life initiatives, but also is a showcase publication that is also being used in our attraction-based strategy. And the other piece that we developed is a by the numbers. And again, what this piece does is this consolidates a lot of the data and analytics that we've been looking at from the departmental-wide perspectives and puts it in a community-friendly guide that really highlights the progress and opportunity here in the county. But probably one of the most flagship celebrations that our department facilitates is the Macomb Business Award. This year, over 450 business leaders and community leaders came to celebrate a number of Macomb County companies in 6 key areas. It's becoming a great day to not only celebrate the great progress and the great impact that our private sector partners have on us, but it also showcases a lot of the capabilities of the businesses here in Macomb County. But probably a program that we're most proud of is Manufacturing Day. Macomb County currently has one of the largest coordinated National Manufacturing Day celebrations in the entire country. Up to this point in time, I believe 5,800 students have had the ability to tour no less than 70 manufacturing facilities around Macomb County since its inception. And not only is this giving us opportunity to break down a number of the stereotypes associated with manufacturing and production-based industry being dirty, dull, and dangerous, but more importantly, it's giving us the opportunity to showcase some of the most modern and some of the most impactful production-based facilities in the entire world that we have right here. It's also helping us with the talent issue that we have. We're getting students that are as early as in 8th grade really trying to understand, if I want to be an engineer, what does that mean in a modern manufacturing plant? If I want to work in robotics, how do I apply that? And what we're also doing is it's giving us an incredible opportunity to now bring in the educators, where we're looking at academy-based programming being the chief convening organization with Romeo Community Schools, where they're looking to completely radicalize their curriculum to focus more on career readiness and getting individuals to realize that lifelong learning is the solution and not just getting a college degree. We're also working with our friends in Fraser Public Schools to look at a prime-based program, which is going to bring in more folks to look at the whole notion of what does advanced manufacturing look like, how's that being deployed in our community, and have also been in continuous discussions with our friends in Centerline Public Schools looking at their academy-based learning. And again, as a department, we're developing new ways to become involved in creating the talent pipeline for those targeted industries. But we're also looking at some creative things this year, knowing that next year we're going to be celebrating the county's bicentennial and really want to use that as a showcase opportunity for us. So I apologize for maybe going a little bit long here, But more than anything, I want to thank you for the opportunity, not only to present to you the proficiencies of our department, but for the continued support that you give to our department to do the good things that we should be doing for the folks that live here and work here.
Hey, there's no apology needed. Your department does many good things, and one of the things that makes our county shine on many levels, and we've got many good departments that do many good things, and yours is certainly one of them. And that's why it's important, especially for the new commissioners, to see the variety of things that go on. And the PowerPoint's going to be emailed to you again, so it's in your packet, but just keep it so you got it as a reference when you're talking to your communities, when you're out there, and let them know what the county's doing for your community you may not be aware of, and know that that's part of your project. You can take credit for that because we're the ones that funded it. We're the ones providing the resource, allow them to do the good work that they've been doing. And they've taken the ball, and they've just done a fabulous job with it. Commissioner Smith, Chairman Smith.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. JP, I want to echo what Commissioner Brown said. There's no need to apologize. To be honest with you, seeing this, I'd almost rather have had this in two separate issues so we could go through it a little less quickly, because you guys are doing so many great things out there, and really so many great things that a lot of not only commissioners, but a lot of people just don't know about yet, right? So, I mean, obviously you guys are making that push for that too, and I think you guys are doing a great job. Secondly, I just want to tell you too that we've enjoyed having members of your team up on our floor. They've been great.
Wanted to thank you guys for the hospitality too.
No, it's been really nice getting to know some people from a different department that we only really see when they come up here and sit so far from each other in the seats out there. But yeah, I just wanted to tell you that. And then, of course, you always have a career when you're done here as an auctioneer, the way you can speak so fast. So.
Appreciate that. Sorry. Nervous tick, I guess.
No, you do great. You whipped it through and didn't mess up at all. I'm impressed. But anyway, thank you very much. That was a great presentation.
Thank you. Appreciate it. One thing that I would speak to those two comments is I'm incredibly proud of the fact that currently our department is involved in projects and initiatives in each one of the commissioner districts. And the other thing that is increasingly beneficial to us is through conversations that we've had with Chairperson Smith. Your board is a conduit for leads for us. You know business leaders in the community. You know of emerging opportunities. You know of issues that need to be solved. If you bring those to our attention, we will not only be there in good faith to help look at those opportunities or solve any issues that do emerge.
Let me continue on with that, because that's going from something that we just did a couple of weeks ago. I was actually talked to by some friends of mine that owned car dealerships, and they were telling me about a lot of vacancies in a lot of car dealerships for pretty nice jobs, and they were having trouble connecting with the public and the students, and I know about the Manufacturing Day program, so I got JP and his team involved, and we had a small group get together, and it's looks like it's it was a success, and it looks like
Absolutely.
It's starting to grow already. So I'm glad to hear that. And like I say, you have something, you have an idea, you have some people talking to you about different needs, in your community. I've seen it already. You talk to them, and they're there. So please take them up on that.
Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with Chair Smith that what your department does is so vast that you could have equally broken this out into 3 separate presentations and would have given you the opportunity. So that's just an attribute. I mean, it's an indication of how hard your department is working to cover all of those areas. So I commend you for that.
It's all their credit right there.
And well, the last part is, I think you're in the right department. I know you've made some moves before, but I think this is where your passion is, and I think you're doing a fabulous job. Thank you, Chair.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. Commissioner Leonetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Looking at the blue economy, which is always interesting to me because we have the Harrison Township plan, and I'm from Harrison Township. It's a wonderful plan.
Yeah.
And I've seen it before.
Yeah.
And I can tell you here, when you go down the end of Crocker Boulevard, there's a mobile park there called Blue Sky Mobile Park, okay? And this is a disclosure, and I've often told my client that if anything comes up, I have to recuse myself. He's a client of mine. Yeah. The guy who owns Blue Sky is a client of mine. He wants to see this happen.
Yeah.
But you need private investors
Absolutely.
to come in and pay him essentially so that we can develop this.
Absolutely.
How do we get those private investors to him? Is that something that your department does? I mean, yes.
That is our charge.
Okay.
A plan is just something pretty that looks nice on a PowerPoint presentation or is a good way to show to a prospective investor what's the opportunity in your community. It is our charge to not only bring those potential investors to the community, but to develop realistic development procedures and protocols that would entice them to come here. We can draw boxes and put lines on map all day and say this is where we're going to build this, or this is where this high rise is going to go. But what we're realizing more and more, whether it's looking at opportunities here within the county seat in Mount Clemens, whether it's looking at industrial development out on the fringes of some of our industrial service areas, we need to be more strategic with the way that we pitch projects. So with the case of Harrison Township went through every step and mechanism to meet all of the expectations of state legislation to establish the district. Now, with the help of Jury's work group, with the help of the Planning Mapping Services work group, we are out there showcasing that if you're looking for waterfront development opportunities, you need to get Harrison Township, Macomb County, Michigan on the map. And I think that's something that we've done, and we've always field inquiries from individuals that are looking at it. And again, the majority of them are speculative in nature.
Sure.
But I can assure you that it's something that's not only our charge, but something that we're very serious about.
Well, that's good to know, because, you know, I get questions from constituents, questions from this particular client. You know, it all looks great.
Yep.
But what is going on behind the scenes? And I always tell them, I go, I don't know what to tell you. And I'm a new commissioner, but I said, I know we have a development department. And so what you do is you're constantly out there looking at speculators, potential investors, and you're saying, look, if you're interested in building a hotel, here's a great place to build it along the waterfront.
Absolutely.
And do anything like that. Well, it's good to know. I'm gonna probably be talking to you a little bit more. I don't want to take up the time of the rest of the commission, but
Normally I'm on the 7th floor, but right now we're a little transient. So
I gotcha. I'll find you. All right. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else on the first round? Commissioner Smith on the second.
Thank you. So to what Commissioner Leonetti was saying, the property down there at first sight is prime property, and then when you look at it and, you know, what's been going on lately with our, you know, sewer and our infrastructure problems, also, you know, is kind of a problem area when it comes down to our, you know, the problems we're having with illegal dumping and, you know, different things like that. So I imagine that you're working probably hand in hand with our new Public Works Commissioner, who seems to be very forward on trying to get this kind of thing to stop so that our waterways actually clean up and don't have, you know, don't impact these waterfront properties south of the Clinton River and the spillway.
Infrastructure, green infrastructure, advanced stormwater systems, those are all things that not only are top of mind when we're looking at investing in some of these more modern treatments. You know, when we talk about the whole notion of this Green Macomb program, the reason we're doing it is not just because it's nice to plant trees, it's because it will actually help with water quality. The other thing that we're doing in these specific districts that we're calling out, we want them to be showcase projects. When we look at the whole notion of adaptive reuse, infrastructure is a major part of that. So it's just not about making a building look pretty, it's about making a site more functional, and a lot of that functionality comes with the infrastructure that's even below ground, and it's something we discuss very open and candidly with existing property owners, business owners, and with our other institutional partners here in the county.
Great. And last but not least, this might not be the most popular topic with some, but I sat down with Jeff Boehm up in St. Clair County, and they've been doing a wonderful job with their parks up there and their waterfront property. And quite honestly, he said really the key to all of that was that there's plenty of money for help for a lot of these projects, but you got to have to have some match money involved. And that being said, not know how long ago, but they passed a Parks and Recreation millage, and I don't think it's a very big millage, but it's enough that it kind of seeds different projects, you know, from helping different communities out with their parks to, you know, actually maybe acquiring property to, you know, have county parks or what have you. Just wondering if that's, you know, something you guys have thought about. I don't know if we've ever had that here. I'm not really sure, you know, being new to this, not really sure what the process would be or who would even, if you guys have discussed that as a possibility of kind of helping along this waterfront initiative.
Yes, please. This department in 2014, with the help of this board, passed the first comprehensive Parks and Recreation Master Plan that the county had in more than 7 years. That plan is due for a comprehensive rewrite starting next year. We are currently in the process of bringing together countywide parks and recreation stakeholders to develop a strategic process of how we want to update that document. Not only to bring in some of the updated statewide legislation, but some of the criteria from the Department of Natural Resources on how we can best position the county to access discretionary grant dollars. As St. Clair County has been very proficient in leveraging not only the DNR trust fund, as we've also tried to up the way that we kind of bring in some of those discretionary dollars from the state. Having that strategic framework in place is invaluable, but beyond that, figuring out how the county were to structure, whether it be a millage-based system, whether it be additional carve-outs through the budgeting process, whether it's bringing our friends in the Department of Roads looking at non-motorized infrastructure, all those things are not only things that we've discussed quite candidly internally, but have started to outreach to not only internal departments here in the county, but also bringing in some of our partnering agencies. I think we learn best from the incredible investments what the local parks and recreation stakeholders have done here in the county. We have some of the most showcased parks and recreation departments in here, whether it's the vast programming down in the city of Warren, whether it's the interlocal agreements that Romeo, Washington, and Bruce have put together. We should be able to learn from these folks. And I think the flagship recently is when we have a city like Sterling Heights that says, yes, parks mattered, and they pass a millage, those size structure that they did. These are things that we've not only been tracking, but of trying to understand, not just because we want more money to do this, but because we need to be an active participant in this because it matters to the citizens here.
Great. Well, keep us updated on
Absolutely.
what's going on with that. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you very much for your presentation and your time, and you're
Thank
getting a
you.
lot more inquiries now that you've told them what you're doing now, so you're
All
gonna
right.
so you'll be busy with some more interested commissioners.
All right. I think I have to stand here for the next two agenda items too.
Yeah,
So.
all right, well, don't go far then. Thank you very much. Need a motion to receive and file? Motion by Lucido, supported by Commissioner Gillette. Please vote.